There's a storm brewing in Baltimore, and at the center of it is none other than head coach John Harbaugh. The fan base is split, the locker room feels tense, and even former Ravens are starting to speak up. And no, this isn't about one bad game or a couple of missed opportunities. This feels different. This feels like the beginning of a serious conversation about the future of one of the longest-tenured coaches in the NFL. Let's be real. The Ravens haven't looked like themselves for a while now. They haven't won a game since mid-September, and that bye week could not have come at a better time. But as players rest up and prepare for the next stretch of the season, fans are left to wrestle with some tough questions. Chief among them, is John Harbaugh still the right man for the job? It's not just the fans asking that question either. Former Ravens like Chris Canty have come forward with strong, pointed comments that are echoing throughout the Ravens community. Canty, who won a Super Bowl with Baltimore, recently said flat out, that championship was a long time ago. 2012, to be exact. The game has changed. The league has evolved. The athletes are different. And he's not sure Harbaugh's voice is cutting through anymore. And look, this isn't some dramatic overreaction. Canty didn't come in guns blazing, calling for Harbaugh's job on a whim. He was measured, respectful, but also brutally honest. He made it clear he still has a ton of respect for Harbaugh. But respect doesn't equal results. At some point, if you're not getting it done, change becomes necessary. The numbers back it up too. Only 3 playoff wins in the last decade. That's just not the standard in Baltimore. That's not what this franchise has been about. The conversation isn't just about wins and losses either. It's about whether Harbaugh's message has gone stale. 18 seasons is a long time to lead any NFL team. And yes, longevity is impressive. But when your players aren't responding, when the fan base is growing restless, and when the results aren't showing up in January, that longevity starts to feel like a weight. Chris Canty even brought up other franchises to paint the picture. Look at New England. Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, wasn't immune. The Patriots fell off, and now they're moving in a new direction. Same story in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. There comes a point where you can't lean on past glory anymore. You need to ask the hard questions and make the tough calls. It's no longer about what a coach has done. It's about what he's still capable of doing. And here's the thing. Nobody's saying Harbaugh couldn't succeed elsewhere. In fact, most people believe he'd be hired in a heartbeat if Baltimore let him go. But the real issue is whether he's still the right guy to lead this Ravens team. The one built around Lamar Jackson. The one built to win right now. And if this season ends without at least a deep playoff run, we're talking minimum a conference championship appearance, then the question becomes unavoidable. Is Harbaugh elevating this roster, or is he holding it back? Let's not forget, Harbaugh's voice has been the voice of the Ravens for nearly 2 decades. He's not just the head coach, he's the face of the franchise. Steve Bisciotti rarely speaks publicly. The team doesn't have a flashy general manager always in front of the cameras. It's Harbaugh who answers the questions, who sets the tone, who carries the weight. But when you've been the guy for that long, the same speeches, the same post-game lines, the same philosophies, they start to lose their edge. And that's what Canty was getting at. It's not about firing someone out of frustration. It's about asking whether the message still hits home, whether the culture he's trying to build is actually being felt, and whether it's time, not out of anger, but out of necessity, to try something new. Now, here's where it gets tricky. People inside the league don't expect Harbaugh to be fired, not even if the team totally collapses this season. Multiple insiders have said that even if the Ravens go 3-14, which feels unlikely but still mathematically possible, ownership would still give Harbaugh another year. That's how deep the loyalty runs in Baltimore. And that's where frustration grows. Because loyalty, while admirable, can be dangerous when it clouds judgment. We've seen this before. The Ravens stuck with Greg Roman too long. The offense stalled, fans screamed for change, and the organization hesitated. When they finally moved on, it was too late to salvage the season. And now, there's a real fear that the same cycle could repeat with Harbaugh. That they'll wait a year too long. That they'll blink and Lamar Jackson will be 32 with nothing to show for it. And speaking of Lamar, this whole conversation starts and ends with him. You don't get many quarterbacks like him. He's a generational talent, a true difference maker. But what happens when you waste that window? When you surround him with an offense that can't deliver in crunch time? When you give him a defense that struggles to close out games? It's not all on Harbaugh, of course. The roster construction deserves its share of the blame. The trenches haven't been addressed the way they should have. The pass rush is inconsistent. And the offensive line has been shaky, especially on short yardage downs. That falls on general manager Eric DeCosta. But Harbaugh isn't off the hook either. He's the CEO of this team. Everything on the field runs through him, directly or indirectly. And players notice. Fans notice. You can only go so long with the same patterns before people start tuning out. Eric Weddle, another former Raven, put it perfectly. He didn't attack Harbaugh, but he was confused. He didn't understand how a veteran coach like Harbaugh could allow some of the decisions we've seen this season, especially in that goal line disaster against the Rams. The Ravens had multiple chances to punch it in, and instead of feeding Derrick Henry, they opted for back-to-back quarterback sneaks that went nowhere. Weddle said it straight. Coaching matters. And in that moment, it was hard to argue. Even offensive coordinator Todd Monken admitted he got it wrong. He owned up to it, took responsibility, said he regretted the call. And look, that kind of accountability is appreciated. It's refreshing to see a coach say, "Yeah, I messed that up." But that also raises another point. If Monken is acknowledging mistakes, if Weddle and Candy are calling things out, and if the results keep slipping, what's Harbaugh doing about it? And here's the heart of the issue. As the Ravens gear up for the second half of the season, it's no longer about tweaking the game plan or finding momentum. It's about identity. It's about urgency. And for John Harbaugh, it's about proving that his leadership still resonates. Because make no mistake, this next stretch will define his future with the Baltimore Ravens. Now let's talk about that Bears game. That might not sound like a marquee matchup to most people, but for this Ravens team, it could be the make-or-break moment of the entire year. Lose that one, and you fall to 1 win and 6 losses on the season. And at that point, no matter how much optimism you try to generate, no matter how many times you say one game at a time, the season's trajectory becomes painfully clear. You're not a contender. You're not even in the conversation. You're a team spiraling with no identity, no rhythm, and no clear direction forward. That's why this upcoming game feels like more than just a regular season clash. It feels like a final audition, not just for Harbaugh, but for the entire coaching staff. Because a team with this much talent, with Lamar Jackson, Roquan Smith, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, and the pieces around them, shouldn't be sitting near the bottom of the standings. They shouldn't be questioning if they'll even be playing meaningful football in December. And yet, here we are. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. If Baltimore loses this next game, the front office is going to have a decision to make. Do they double down on loyalty? Or do they admit that this isn't working anymore? Because it's one thing to be patient when a team is building. But this team was built to win now. The moment Lamar signed that massive deal, the clock started ticking. Every year that passes without a serious playoff run is another wasted year of a superstar quarterback's prime. And that brings us back to Harbaugh. Because the conversations behind closed doors won't be about what he's done. They'll be about what he's failed to do lately. They'll be about the blown timeouts, the questionable fourth down calls, the red zone inefficiency, the stagnant stretches of play where the Ravens look lost, unsure, disconnected. They'll be about whether Harbaugh is holding this team to the standard he helped set all those years ago, or whether that standard has quietly been lowered. Of course, there's the other side to this story. What if the Ravens do beat Chicago? What if they bounce back, reel off a few wins, and fight their way back into playoff contention? That's not out of the question. This team has shown flashes. The defense has played well in stretches. The offense, when clicking, can put up points quickly. If things turn around, the narrative shifts. Harbaugh could be hailed once again for his ability to stabilize the team through adversity. But let's be honest, that's not enough anymore. Just getting to the postseason, just being a wild card team, isn't enough. Not with this roster. Not with this quarterback. Not after all the expectations. Not when you've been in the same position year after year with the same result. Early exits and excuses. So what happens if they barely sneak into the playoffs, only to be eliminated in the first round again? What if they win a game or two, but fall short of the Super Bowl again? Are we going to chalk that up as progress? Is that the standard now? Because this is what fans are really afraid of. That the Ravens front office will look at a mediocre season and say, well, we almost got there. Let's run it back. That they'll use injuries or bad luck as an excuse to delay a tough decision. That they'll convince themselves that continuity matters more than accountability. And meanwhile, Another year passes, another opportunity fades, and the core of this team gets 1 year older. You can see it in the way fans are talking. There's still respect for Harbaugh. Nobody can take away what he's done for the franchise. But that respect is now mixed with doubt, with weariness, with frustration. People are tired of hearing the same post-game answers. Tired of the moral victories. Tired of the "we'll get better" talk. At some point, it has to translate into wins that matter. And that's why so many are saying it's Super Bowl or bust. Not just because that's what they want, but because they know what this team is capable of. They've seen the flashes. They've seen what Lamar can do when he's locked in, when the offensive line gives him time, when the play calling supports his strengths. They've seen the defense flying around, creating turnovers, smothering teams. It's all there, which makes it even more frustrating when it falls apart. And let's talk about the coordinators for a second. Because this isn't just about Harbaugh, it's about the decisions he's made, the people he's stuck by, and how those choices have impacted the team. Todd Monken has had his moments, but too often he gets too cute. Tries to outsmart the game instead of just playing it. 2 quarterback sneaks with Derrick Henry on the sideline. That's not a calculated risk. That's overthinking at its worst. Zach, or on defense. Still learning. Still adjusting. But the lack of aggression, the soft zone looks on 3rd and short, the inability to get off the field in critical moments, that falls on coaching. And while Orr deserves some of the blame, Harbaugh's the one who made him defensive coordinator. Harbaugh's the one who kept him there. Harbaugh's the one who continues to defend him even as the results raise questions. This is the same pattern we saw with Greg Roman. A coordinator who did some good things, who helped the team build an identity, but who ultimately got left behind as the game evolved. Harbaugh stuck by him for too long, and the Ravens paid for it. And now we might be watching history repeat itself. The longer this goes on, the more it feels like Harbaugh is coaching from memory, relying on what's worked in the past, hoping it still works now. But the NFL doesn't wait. It doesn't reward nostalgia. It rewards results. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL rumor mill is already heating up, and fans of the Baltimore Ravens may have reason to be buzzing. Word has leaked from multiple sources that Baltimore has officially closed a blockbuster deal with the Cleveland Browns to bring defensive powerhouse Myles Garrett to Charm City. While neither team has released the full details yet, the whispers around the league suggest this is the kind of move that could reshape the AFC North entirely. Myles Garrett, widely regarded as one of the most fearsome pass rushers in the NFL, has been linked to trade speculation for months, but few expected it to culminate this quickly. Baltimore, known for its aggressive defensive identity under head coach John Harbaugh, seems to be doubling down on that strategy, and Garrett's arrival would instantly make the Ravens' front seven one of the most intimidating in the league. Insiders hint that the Browns, in turn, may be receiving a package of draft picks and young talent that could signal a rebuild, or at least a bold retooling, after some inconsistent seasons. The timing of this deal raises eyebrows. Garrett, a cornerstone of Cleveland's defense for years, has consistently pressured quarterbacks at elite levels, and his presence alone can alter game plans. Rumors suggest that the Ravens see him as the final piece in a defensive puzzle that already includes a dynamic secondary and versatile linebackers. Meanwhile, Browns fans are speculating whether this move signals a shift in team philosophy, with the front office prioritizing future flexibility over the current star power. League insiders are buzzing over the ripple effects this trade could have. Imagine Garrett lining up against divisional rivals like the Steelers and Bengals. One-on-one matchups could become must-watch TV. Meanwhile, speculation is rampant about how Baltimore's offensive scheme might adapt, knowing they can rely on a defensive juggernaut to swing momentum in crucial moments. Analysts are already debating whether this trade could vault the Ravens into Super Bowl contention, or if it's a high-risk gamble that could pay off only if the supporting cast steps up. As the story develops, social media has exploded with fan reactions ranging from pure excitement to shocked disbelief. Some claim this is a dream scenario for the Ravens, while others question what Cleveland hopes to gain long-term. Either way, one thing seems certain. The NFL landscape just shifted, and Myles Garrett's new home will be the talk of the league for weeks to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.